Okay, so today is the day. You can see it right here. The Native Instruments Komplete Kontrol S88 Mark III has just come in today, just a few short hours ago. It came in. I've been waiting, as most of you know, for this keyboard for some time. I knew when Native Instruments started to really discount the Mark II line of stuff, and if you can't see, it's right over here, the Mark II. And I knew when they started to really take the Mark II and take it down in price across the board on all their keyboards that we were close, or at least I hoped, that we were close to Mark III. Well, guess what? We are close to Mark III. We're not close to Mark III. We have it here today. We're going to unbox it. Let's get to the unboxing. This came from Sweetwater, which should be your favorite store. It's my favorite store to get equipment from. They ship very fast, and their prices are always competitive, and you have really very good service up there, which you really can't find anywhere else. And if you're interested in getting this keyboard from Sweetwater, just check the description below. I've got a link for you to go right to Sweetwater and buy the things that you need. Okay, so let's unbox this thing. When you're unboxing keyboards, I find the easiest way just to put it on its end and take the big box off. There's two gigantic big boxes that come with these keyboards, and the first is the keyboard box itself, and the second is the actual box on the outside, which you want to keep in case you decide to sell again. Yes, that means somewhere in your garage you're going to have two gigantic boxes. You can put them inside each other, but it's good to have them so that if you want to sell them, or you want to ship it back or something like that, that you keep both boxes. Pretty cool box. I think you can see that from here, but look at the other side. That's pretty cool. I almost missed the candy. Their sweet way of saying thank you. And you can always count on that bit of honey right there. Love that bit of honey. All right. Now for the real bit of honey. We've got right on top here, we've got the USB-C to USB-C. Cool cord. I'll try not to mangle it too badly. And you've got welcome to Control, which is, ooh, cool. And stickers. And then you've got the serial number card and stickers. How about that? All right, you can see how it's packed. Really nicely packed. Okay, so next up, I'm going to take it out of the plastic. I'm going to put it on my stand over there, and we'll turn the camera back on. One thing that is kind of neat is the way that these outliners, of course, there's the big foam pieces on the ends here that go on the ends, but also they have these detachable parts. I'm not breaking that. That just comes like this. It's split, almost like Lego blocks right here. And so you can easily take this off without destroying it. And then you have this to keep in the box. So if you're ever going to rebox it up, you have these things that are ready. Very careful. I know you're excited. I'm very excited too, but always good to keep all this stuff because reselling, and especially shipping, you'll want to have all of these again. And then the big reveal, take off this. This also is like a cover. Doesn't rip, so I'm not going to rip it in case I need to put it back in there. And there she is, my beauty. It's one big continuous sheet. Fold it and I'll put it into the box. So if I'm going to reship it or sell it ever. And let me tell you something, my friends. You are going to resell. And I'm telling you that because that's likely going to be resold over there. So I love it, and might be selling it with a stand and a case. But that's what she looks like coming out of the box. Okay, just going handheld for a minute just to look at the keyboard before I turn it on and hook it in and all that kind of stuff. Everything looks okay. Screen is good. Need to clean it a little bit. One thing that was a bit of confusion, it might just need to be dusted or something, but there's some of this, I don't know if you can see that, kind of like this film on the back. It's almost like the lacquer is not set well. I'm gonna take not a wet rag, but maybe a wet rag to it and see if that cleans it up. But odd that the touch is very, it's plastic of course, but it feels a little, very smooth, but a little on the tacky side, which I like actually. I like the feel of it. But just a little like that right there. I was worried about it. It's like, it wasn't a floor model because it's packed up too good to be a floor model. And those are probably my fingerprints. So I'm gonna clean it up and see. Okay, I'll try to keep this as still as I can, still handheld here. So first thing we're gonna do is plug in the MIDI cable, which is this USB-C cable. And you can see here you have several different kinds of places to plug in. You have the host and the charge only. Charge only. Second thing I'm going to plug in here, you see I have power right here. Right here. And then you see we have all of our pedal possibilities and MIDI in and out. So I'll only be using the sustain pedal. And voila, or viola, as I like to say. I'm ready to turn it on for the first time. Are you ready? Turn this one on. Here we go. No power. All right, so wouldn't turn on. Big problem with a new keyboard. No power. What was the deal? Well, let me just throw one thing out at you that you might want to try. Read the directions. Please read the directions, ladies and gentlemen, when you are putting a new keyboard up to your system. I did this last time with the M-Audio, and I've done it again with this one, although there was a big problem that was making it very difficult to go through the directions. But there are directions, and I will show you those. All right, so first things first, download, install, and run Native Access, and you'll see that step one is there. Now, I already had Native Access on my machine, so I thought I was okay, and I was, although there were some things to download. We'll talk about those in a minute. Plug in your keyboard. Okay, so this was my first problem. I used their thing that they sent me, a fancy little round USB-C cable, USB to USB-C, 6 foot, good length, good cable. Didn't work. I put it into I have a Mac Mini 2021 M1 with 2 powered Thunderbolt USB things on them, and it did not recognize it at all. And the only way I could get power to the keyboard was to hook it up with my phone cable. And so if you look on here, it actually says if your computer does not have a USB-C port, you can use your own USB adapter and power supply. What it means by that is really just the thing that comes with your phone. And as it turns out, that worked. I went and got my iPhone charger and what came with my newest iPhone, actually my iPad, plugged that in, worked great. And the keyboard came on and it was all ready to go. But I had already hooked up another kind of MIDI to it. I got a USB-C cable that went to USB-A and into my USB-A port, and that's how I was able to do all these next steps. Because after you get power to the keyboard, we'll talk about this cable in a minute. I think this cable's bad. So once I hooked up had power coming in from my iPad adapter going in, and then I had MIDI that worked to the computer, I was able to go to the next step, which was enter the serial number in Native Access for the keyboard, and then update the hardware. They come up with another thing that you have to do in Native Access called Hardware Connection Service, and that goes in and connects you hardware-wise to the keyboard. And then step 5, you have to update the firmware. And the firmware was, you'll see it in this picture, but then it was at to 1 point something. And so it updated that. That all took a bit. It all took a bit of time. I will also tell you that it took a while to download the hardware connection software thing. Even though it was 300 megabytes, it wasn't very much. And yet still, it took probably a half hour. And my connection speed was very fast, and yet it still took a long time. So you have to just go through all these steps, and then there's some software, and I did have to re-up the Komplete Kontrol software and the contact software, because I want to use that. Now, as of this time of the recording, I still haven't gone in and messed with Komplete too much in here. I used the desktop version, and it worked pretty good. But what I want to do first is just turn it on and see it do its magic. Big NI comes on. And then the lights come on across the screen. Kontrol S88 comes on. It comes up with either a default MIDI template, or in this case, I have it hooked up to Logic right now, so it's coming up with Logic stuff. And boy, is it a better controller for Logic so far. Let's go to Logic and just see how this kind of feels. Playing Keyscape, which is my usual piano. Yeah. All right, here we go. Okay, so let me tell you what I think about it. I feel like that one thing that you can't really hear with this mic, but it's not quite as clunky at all as the last keyboard I had, which was the M Audio Pro Hammer 88. I felt that was pretty thunky, as you remember from my cover. Is it too thunky? And I feel like this is pretty good. I feel like this has got a lot of nice feel to it. It's got heft. It plays just like it should. If I had to pick an adjective that it gets close to, it's not this way. It might be a bit spongy, but not really. One thing I'm noticing is that it's a very short throw, shorter than other 88-note ones I've felt. It reminds me a little bit of the RD88, which was a nice feeling keyboard that I haven't owned it, but I've played it in stores. And so it's got a shorter push down, but that probably has something to do with the polyphonic and regular aftertouch that they're trying to push on this, which I don't really use that much. This one bounces pretty good, and it's not very thunky. Okay, so my point of this whole video was just to unbox it, let you see what it looked like, let you see what came out, let you see the connection issues and things you're going to have to worry about. And I'm gonna try another USB-C to USB-C and see if I can get this to work the way this cable is supposed to work. But I just want to do an initial report of what it felt like, what it looks like. And by the way, I think I have fixed the issues on the chalkiness of the keyboard. It just required a little lightly damp cloth and then drying it, and it looks just fine. The screen is beautiful so far. It's just really pretty. I haven't got into the Komplete stuff yet, and so far so good. Despite the connectivity issues, I think this is going to be a winner because it kind of sits in the middle of all the things I need. The keyboard is not too thunky, but it's also not too spongy. And it's going to be a very good controller as far as really controlling samples well. Okay, just as an add-on note here, I did try plugging in my USB-C to USB-C cable that came with my new iPad, which is a very new cable, works great for the iPad, and while it does power up the board, it doesn't stay powered up for long. I'll start playing, and it looks like if I start to try to play, you can't hear this, but yeah, it just went off again. So I think what's happening is that there's just not enough power coming into the keyboard, and I'm going to have to plug it in separately through using one cable throughout the power slot and put it into the power and power it separately from MIDI, and use another MIDI cable, another USB-C to USB-C cable. All right, my friends. Well, unfortunately, we have reached an end with the Kontrol S88. As you can see, there's no colors. There's nothing on the screen. That's because I can't get it to come on anymore. Remember, when I first plugged it in and I said, here we go, and I pushed the button and nothing happened. And I had to really do a lot to try to get it to play. I had to end up hooking up the USB-C power to a power supply and then going through to USB-A somehow from USB-C. It was a mess, but it worked, and I was able to show you some of it working. But unfortunately today, when I went back to it and I tried to plug it in, everything I've tried has not worked. I've got through to support at Sweetwater. They just think it's a power problem of some kind. And so we're shipping it back. I don't think after playing this and playing piano with it, what little I did the other day, that I'm going to end up keeping this. I did some research. This is the Fatar TP/100 LR or 100 version. But there's something about the escapement I don't like. And I can't imagine if my plan was to try to use this for strings and for drums and for everything. And I just don't think that I can do that. So my plan now will probably shift to, since I have to turn this back in, or I've got to ship this back to Sweetwater now. What I will likely do is I will probably get something else like the SL88 Grand from Studio Logic for playing, since it uses the TP/40 wood, and that is probably more of what I'm looking for from a piano type keybed, to feel more like because I do a lot of piano playing in MIDI. So with Keyscape and other things like that. I will say that this, as I said earlier in my review, or my what's going to be the only review of this keyboard, is that it was very good for electric piano. And so I would recommend it for if you're an electric piano player, or if you just want an 88-note keyboard that's a lighter touch than some. It's not as light as something like the Arturia Keylab 88 Essentials. It's not that light. That's a really short throw and really light, and an 88-note keyboard. Both this and the Keylab both use the Fatar TP100. This is a very good version of it, if you like that feel. It's also on other keyboards, but if you like that feel, you'll like this. As a matter of fact, from what I understand, the S88 Mark II had a similar type of feel. But this is very solid, all the way up and all the way down. It feels good if you like that kind of feel. I don't think this is the feel for me, so this might be a bit of a mixed blessing. So I'm able to try it, get a feel for what it felt like, and see the operating system, which the operating system's great. I know I want that, so I'll just upgrade my Mark II at some point to a 61 version and go ahead and get another 88-note keyboard, most likely the SL Grand 88 by Studio Logic. So unfortunately, this will be the last review that I'll have of the Kontrol S88. I don't by any means say that the Kontrol S88 is bad, or that you're going to get a lemon. I don't think I got a lemon, or maybe I did. It's just something odd with the power and their power cable, and so I don't know. Again, this is the first batch that Sweetwater's got in about 5 months, so they could still be knocking out bugs. I don't know, but it's very solid. So there's nothing problem. This is not a toy. This is great. Every bit worth the $1,300, I believe, for most people who want an 88-note keyboard. But for me, this one's not going to work since it won't turn on. So back in the box it goes. That's why we took very good care of the box. It's going back to Sweetwater. So that's my review. That's my unboxing. Kind of a bummer the way it turned out, but thanks for watching.